Well, hey everyone, good afternoon. It just actually turned 3 p.m. It's 3 p.m. Eastern here. So we are going to go ahead and get started with this week's Propel webinar. I'm super excited about this one. This one is all about database and flow. For those of you who are joining us on the call that have been here for the past 2 weeks, it's been an awesome 2 weeks to look back on. Week one, we really spent a lot of time talking about our mindset and diving into that player versus victim mentality, identifying areas in our lives and in our world where we need to take more responsibility and accountability and really put ourselves in that player's position instead of the victim mentality. Week two, we really talked about what it really meant to be a go-giver. What does delivering value really look like? And how can we make ourselves a more attractive partner to our customers and our referral partners? And this week is all about database and flow. My name is Courtney Graham. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Princeton Mortgage, and this is a subject that I'm super passionate about and makes me really excited to dive into this next 45 minutes with you. In just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Gordon. He is our national sales coach here at Princeton, and he and I have got to spend a lot of time thinking about this and building things, and really excited to kind of walk through how we think about the best way to utilize your database and some of those awesome ways to stay in flow and top of mind with the people in your database. Something I think a lot about is if we reflect back on 2023, it was a tough year, right? 2024, we're starting to see signs of improvement, but it looks like it's still going to be challenging. I think one of the things that we're all kind of aware of, sometimes it's hard to say out loud, but whether 2024 is a challenging year or whether you have a great year, maybe even your best year, it's completely up to you. There's a way that you can have a great year in 2024, but it's completely up to you to make it your best year. So we know in order to do that, you have to have a goal and you have to have a plan. And that plan better be around your database, making sure you have a flow system for that database and how you're marketing to people in your database. So I'm just about to turn it over to Mark. Would love to make this interactive. If you guys have questions as we go along, you can utilize the chat functionality at the Zoom meeting. It's at the bottom. All of your messages to the chat section will be anonymous, and we'll be happy to answer your questions along the way. So with that, Mark, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. As Courtney mentioned, we've studied for 6 years kind of what we think the best way to do this is. And we've done that by interviewing hundreds of the top loan officers in the country, people that you see at the top of Scotsman Guide, working with our own team here, coaching loan officers at Princeton and outside of Princeton, working with realtors directly, and really finding out kind of the best practices and what they like from their referral partners. And so we're really going to drill down to some of the science and some of the art of kind of what makes this all work for the loan officers that we work with. And so this is one of the ones I'm most excited about because it's actionable, it's tangible, and some of these things may seem obvious, although together what you'll really see is that it's a combination of behaviors, strategy that lead to having a completely different result, and that result is growing your business. So the value of your business is equal to the quality of your database. Now, I've done this database training for huge groups of, I've been in front of 150 realtors and done it. I've done it for lots of loan officers. And often when I say this, you just see a lot of people kind of turn a little bit white. They get a little bit pasty in the face. They get a little bit scared, right? Because they realize, A, maybe they don't have a database, or if they do have a database, they realize they probably don't work out of it on a regular basis. They aren't updating it maybe the way they should be, and they certainly aren't utilizing it the way that they could be. And whether you're very drilled into the science of your database and you live in it every day, or you're the kind of person who just has a sphere of influence that you're very in tune with naturally, that database still exists. And what I mean by that database is the quality of people that you have normal interactions with, that you are either actively working towards making them a partner in your business and building a meaningful relationship with them, or people that you want to be doing that with, right? And so they're on your target list. So we want to make sure we have the right people in our database. So here's how not to set up your database. This is what I see from a lot of realtors and loan officers. Everyone they've ever met or everyone they've ever got an email address for in one giant list, sitting in one place without any categorization, without any sort of strategy. Maybe they email that group sporadically. Maybe their company emails that group sporadically. There's no real science behind it. There's no real thought process in it. And certainly there's no differentiation between, hey, this is somebody that is a key partner and strategy person that I want to build a relationship with in my business. By the way, this is just some realtor I met at a networking event 7 years ago. This is somebody I did a loan for 3 years ago. They're all kind of jumbled in together, not really separated. And that's not what we want to do with our database. We want to be much more strategic. And there's a couple of reasons why. First one is relationships need to be nurtured. There's tons of science behind this, but the data suggests over and over again that once we get above about 150 people in our universe, our relationships start to deteriorate. You see this with companies, right? It's easy to have culture at a company built around a few key founders and leaders. So you get to 150 people. Culture dissipates as soon as you get above that number if you don't have strategies in place to really get past the relationship part of things. Relationships don't scale, and relationships need to be invested in. I'm assuming some of the people on this call today, you guys have spouses, husbands, wives, children. You'd all agree that when you're focused on delivering value in that relationship and setting aside time specifically to work on that relationship, those relationships get stronger. You want to invest in those relationships. As soon as you start taking those relationships for granted, even when they're with family members who cannot escape you, those relationships deteriorate, you start to get less out of them. And so here's the thing. We have a very specific number of relationships we can have in our life that we can invest in. And again, the science says once we get a community of 150 people, it all starts to fall apart. And that's at the top end, right? And then, and so we can't really with everybody, but we do want to be able to have marketing to more people. And we're going to explain why in a minute. So we want to separate kind of how we think about that. We can do marketing at scale automation to lots of people, but relationships don't scale and they need to be nurtured. And by the way, they can only be nurtured at the highest level by interpersonal interaction. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So let's look at some goals. This is just a random loan officer sampling of the goals. We're having an average loan size across the country right now, about $300,000. We want most of our loan officers that we're setting out goals for would like to be in a year that's a little bit slower like this, around 60 loans for the year, 5 loans per month. Very simple math on that. And you can see if we can do 5 loans for $300,000 a month, $1.5 million a month, $18 million a year. Believe it or not, last year, this would have put you well into the top 20% of originators across the country. And so if you're not there right now, don't feel bad about it, but we're going to very clearly explain to you why you're not there right now and what you need to do to get there given the current environment. So do a little exercise with me. If you're on this call, take a minute, think about how many loans you did last year, especially purchase loans. Let's take any refis out of it, although I don't know anyone who did a ton of refis last year. How many loans did you do last year? How many individual referral partners you had? Right? As you think about that, think about if you were to put a number, say, okay, your referral partners on average refer you how much business a year, right? So right now, if I say, so I ask the loan officer, how many referring realtors do you have? They tell me, I have about 6 or 7 that refer me business on a regular basis. How many loans do you think those agents on average are worth? I was stunned by the answer. When we dove into this with top loan officers, the guys who did hundreds of loans a year, or we did it with the loan officers that do 12 to 20 loans a year, the results were the same. The answer was 2 or 2.1, right? Right around 2 loans per agent that you were getting as a referral partner. So I have a loan officer that I work with here and coach on a regular basis. Last year was one of his worst years in a long time. Like lots of people, he did 120 loans. And I looked at it, he had 60 referral partners. And I was kind of stunned by that. And in the distribution, 31 of those 60 only referred him 1 deal. At the very top end of his referral partners, he got 6 or 7 transactions from his top referral partner for last year. And at the end of the day, his number was 2. When we looked at Ken's numbers that you see in the call right here, he averaged 2 agents per 2 loans per agent referral, right? And so we saw this across all of our loan officers. Then we reached out to some of our friends outside of Princeton Mortgage. The numbers were the same. And so if you know that, wow, that starts to really hit home in a different way. You're like, if I need to expand the amount of my business, there's really only one way to do it, right? So if you need 30 referral partners for 60 loans, and last year you did 36 loans, and we're going to guess you had about 17 or 18 referral partners on those, By the way, you need to add 12 new referral partners starting right now because we're already into this year, right? In the need to add 12 new people who are going to refer you loans this year if you want to go from 36 loans to 60 loans given the current market conditions, right? Assuming that market conditions don't change, okay, based on last year. So if anybody took a deep breath just now, and I would assume there's a bunch of people who did, maybe I need to take one with you. A little bit fired up right now. How are you going to go get those referral partners, guys? It's overwhelming, right? You're like, how am I going to go get those referral partners? Well, here's how you're not going to get them. I'm going to show you some questions you can ask yourself right now. By the way, as every loan officer I've ever recruited these questions, the numbers are all the same when I ask these questions, especially the people that want to grow their business. How many potential referral partners did you meet with last week that you've never done a deal with before? The answer is always one of two answers, 0 or maybe 1. How many referral partners whom you've never done a deal with are you scheduled to meet with this coming week? Almost always 0, sometimes 1. How many potential referral partners do you think you need to be meeting with each week to achieve your goals over the next 12 months? People drastically underestimate this number. They're just not doing enough outreach. How many realtors are in your market who close more than 8 buy-side transactions a year? That's my favorite one. I want you guys all to think about a number right now. Yes, in your local market, right now, how many realtors do you think did more than 8 buy-sides last year? Everybody's got to write down a guess or put it in your head. So we're going to get back to that in 1 second. I want you guys to think about that answer and hold on to that because I think the answers are going to surprise you. When we think about networking here at Princeton Mortgage and when we study the top loan officers, here's what we find. They have about 25 potential referral partners or potential referral partners. In other words, they can be people that are already referring or people that are on their really strong wish list. They know this person already. They think they'd be a good fit for their business. They have 25 people that they invest in differently, that they're focused on developing a meaningful relationship with, that they're doing the extra things for to take that relationship to another level. By the way, this is true of people that are doing 80 loans a year and people that are doing 400 loans a year. What we see is that even at the top of the business, you really can't invest in more than 25 of those individual relationships, and we want to think about those people differently, right? These are the difference makers in your business. These are the people that you say, if I keep them or if I get them to refer me business, they're the ones who have business to refer, have key relationships in my market. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what that means because it's a real hack for this entire process and growing your business. But they're the people that I want to spend my life with, right? These are the people that I'm energized by. These are the people I want to invest in. So I may have a realtor who sends me a bunch of business, but it's a total pain in the butt, and I can kind of take it or leave it. They're not going in my 25. This is sacred. The quality of the human beings on this list and the amount of transactions they do, and then the quality of my relationships with the people on this list, that will directly determine my income. The correlation is direct. So we're going to talk about why this is so important here as we go forward. I want you guys to keep those statistics in mind regarding the realtors. We have 2 sources of flow. Does anybody here? Well, let me tell you a little bit about flow, because usually my trainings are much more interactive when people talk to me, but I'm now talking to myself. So let me talk about flow. We have automated flow, right? Or scalable flow, which I'm going to call it in one way automated, and non-automated flow. So flow is your frequency of interaction with the people in your universe. That's it, your frequency of interaction. So automated flow, or what we call scalable flow, is a weekly email that you send out, a newsletter, is a monthly postcard that you send out to your realtor database, is your social media posts that you put out there that hopefully are being seen by your potential referral partners and your potential buyers. Those are activities that you put the effort in one time, and you can send it out the same way and get the same interaction with as many people as you have on your list. That's great. By the way, it's not nearly as valuable as what we call our non-automated flow. This is an investment of time and thought. It's where you have those special relationships. And so we're talking about that again. So it's where you're having that face-to-face meeting, that phone call individually, where you're going to their events, where you're sharing life experiences, where you know the names of their kids. If somebody's in your non-automated flow list or they're in your My25, you're investing in that relationship differently. And by the way, it doesn't mean that we don't get business from the people that are just in the automated section. We do, but we invest differently in these other people. So as we get into this flow system, let's go over talk about some of that realtor data. Here's what it shows. First of all, if you live, I'll give you my examples for here in Charleston. We have about 800,000 people who live in the Charleston area and about 8,000 realtors. So about 1% of the human beings that we have in our area here are licensed realtors. Might be slightly less this year. That's what it was last year. Okay. Total referral partners, total people that had more than 8 buy sides, 2.5% of those 8,000 realtors. Right. So think about that for a second. 2.5%, less than 250 of 8,000 realtors in the Charleston market had more than 8 buy sides. By the way, those numbers hold up in every market that we've looked at, right? So in general, for each 100,000 people, right, that you have in your area, right, you're looking at about 25 realtors that had 8 or more buy sides. And so whatever number you had in your head for that percentage, those numbers are probably a little bit surprising. And by the way, last year was a really bad year for the mortgage industry. It actually was not a really bad year to be a realtor, right? Those numbers for realtors were actually still a pretty strong year. Yet 2.5% of licensed agents had 8 or more buy sides. So next time you're sitting at a realtor meeting, you're thinking to yourself, I'm wasting my time with this person. The answer is you're probably right. If you haven't already gone into a system like MMI and looked up the amount of buy side transactions that person had, right? There's a number of providers out there of that data. I realize that. Then you might be wasting your time because the reality is the vast majority of our referral partners would be lucky to refer us 1 deal a year because they may only do 1 or 2 deals a year, right? And so we don't want to invest in quarterly lunches or spending a bunch of time or thoughtful gifts for those agents. And that may sound, unless you're betting on their future, maybe they're brand new and you think they're going to do great in the future. But you better have a real reason to invest in somebody if they're only doing 2 buy sides per year, right? So here's our Princeton mortgage flow system. We have our 13 by 30 introductory flow. This is awesome. There's real science behind this, okay? By the way, it doesn't work unless you actually have already met this realtor or had some sort of interaction. We tried. You can't just start sending flow to people you don't know. It doesn't work. They won't see it. They won't remember it. They don't know you. They don't care. But if you have a personality like Courtney's and you meet them one time, they fall in love with you, or at least remember you a little bit. Then when you get these flow interactions, they start to see them everywhere, right? We program their brains to see us by that first interaction, and then we create our flow. So our 13 by 30 is 13 interactions, some automated, some non-automated, with our potential referral partners. So let me give you an example. I go to open houses to meet realtors. I meet a brand new realtor at the open house. We have a 3 to 5 minute interaction, basically asking questions about the house. I don't even really talk about the fact that I'm a loan officer. Maybe it comes up, maybe it doesn't. I say, hey, I'd love to stay connected with you, right? Do you mind if I connect with you on social media? So my first interaction of my 13 by 30 is the collision at the open house. My second one is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, we're connected, okay? Now I go back to my database and I plug them in as a realtor I met. And I send them a handwritten note card, number 3. Right? A handwritten note card. Hey, it was so nice to meet you at the open house. Hope our paths cross again soon. Mark. By the way, the data on this is pretty cool. You know what generation of people appreciate those note cards the most? Gen Z and millennial realtors. They know no one sends them handwritten note cards. They don't get mail, and when they do, those things hold up. Then once our loan officers have put their program into our system, the automation takes over. Every Saturday morning, those realtors get an email that teaches them something about the business or the industry or shares some information that we're excited about. They get a cookie within a week of our first interaction with them in the mail, individually wrapped from the loan officer with their business card inside. Then they get a postcard once a week from us for the next 4 weeks, talking about some of the features that we have here at Princeton Mortgage. Having those 12 contact points, by the way, our 13th contact point is after that last postcard is delivered, we call up and try to set up a meeting. Those 13 pieces of content and that contact strategy forges the beginning of our relationship. And because we have such a strategy behind that, and they've seen so much of us, when they call us at that meeting, they're usually excited to meet with us, if for no other reason than to see the army we have behind us or all the things that we have going on here that make us look bigger than we are as an individual loan officer, right? It makes us look cool to have all this stuff going out. And so we have that system. So what is your system? When you meet a new realtor and you're finding to yourself, hey, I don't know what to do from here. Well, the answer is that requires some strategy and some planning, right? So one of the first things that we do in an automated way is that when we meet a new realtor, we set a calendar for 30 days out to hit them up for that follow-up conversation with where we're going to try to set up an in-person meeting. And all that content we deliver between now and then is about building credibility for our relationship when we get to that point. So we have an intro flow system, which we call our 13 by 30s. Then we have our everyone flow. Anyone that we've ever put into our 13 by 30 system, whether I decide they belong in my 25 and I want to invest in that person deeply, or whether they're like, hey, I met that person and they do some deals, but they're not my flavor, they're going to get my Saturday email from that point forever. Okay. And those are value add emails. I'll tell you, I had one go out for one of the loan officers on my team on Saturday. Today, I got a response from Realtor. Hey, me and my daughter are a Realtor team. We're looking for a new loan officer. Our email was just about how fast we've been closing loans this Saturday, right? I'd love to meet with you guys to discuss your loan process. So imagine what, by the way, the loan officer on my team did not even remember where they met this realtor initially, right? They've probably been in our marketing system for 2 years, okay? That automated Saturday email, that flow system, that automated flow, they've been getting that email from us every week. Suddenly, this is the week they're mad at their current loan officer. We get this email about how fast we close loans, and they're like, hey, I would like to set up a meeting. What is your flow system doing for you? Are you setting up your flow system so that people are reaching out? Imagine realtors reaching out to you for coffee, right? And what that would do for your business. And by the way, I mean, I swear I'm not making that up. That story actually happened today. I showed Courtney the email an hour ago. So we have our email and then we have our social media posts. This is our automated flow. This is our low investment flow, right? Yes, we can take the time to post on social media or to put together an email, but we can hit our whole database all at once. Everyone's getting the same stuff. Our My 25 people, these are our relationships. These are the people that we're going to spend time with at least once a quarter face to face. So one of the other things that we do here at Princeton is we have something here called the blueprint. We really like teaching stuff here. You can tell we're kind of into this coaching and training stuff. And so we put together a coaching and training manual for realtors, right? Whatever's going on in the world that we want to teach. We say, hey, listen, let's grab some coffee. I want to give you a copy of the new blueprint. You pick the one thing in here as a loan officer that you think is pretty cool, or maybe that you think that realtor needs. You sit down, you grab a cup of coffee, you share something with them, and you have that interaction. I'm investing in that relationship. When Christmas comes, I'm not buying one gift for 25 realtors and sending it out 25 times. For these 25 people, I'm blocking out time in my calendar every week to pick out 3 gifts a week, 20 minutes for each person. That's thoughtful. That means something to that person because I'm investing in that relationship and I want them to feel it. Whether they currently refer me business or not, these My 25 are my relationship. They're my focus. I'm investing differently in these people, right? These people I believe on that list. All the other realtors I meet and all the other realtors I market to, by the way, all the other realtors that we interact with, which I'm going to talk about here in 1 second, I'm interviewing on a regular basis to see if they belong having a prime spot in my 25 versus the people that are already in there. Imagine how much that changes your thought process and your interaction with realtors, where instead of saying, I have to convince this person to work with me, I'm now interviewing this person to see if they're worth either just staying in flow with an automated way or investing in. And now I'm asking them questions about them and their business, getting to know them. Is this person giving me energy? Is something that I want to be in business with or partner with? That I want other realtors to know I work with, right? Because I like the way that reflects on me or not. And it changes the dynamic of that relationship. By the way, now, if they are my 25, I'm delivering value to them. I'm helping them become the best version of themselves, right? And so it changes the dynamic of that relationship with our flow system and with our strategy. So now they're getting our emails. We have our quarterly meetings. And we're going through our process for our My 25. So on average, loan officers working with our flow system here at Princeton close 1 loan per month for every 20 partners. We say, Mark, how does that work with the My 25? Well, again, our My 25, those are people that did the 8 or more buy sides, that we want to invest that time in, that we want to get wallet share from. And we do need to have some of those people that we're getting business from in order to hit our 2 or more per agent number. But I'll share with you, when I went through the numbers of our loan officers here at Princeton, talked to other loan officers, other companies about it, they had a bunch of referrals, one-off deals that came from agents they barely remembered meeting. Or for the top loan officers, what I saw consistently was that people in their My 25, this is the best hack I can give you, that people in their My 25 were the kinds of agents that gave them access to other agents that they could have low investment in and also get deals from. Meaning, you have a realtor that has a team. They have a team with a bunch of realtors that maybe don't do a ton of business. You don't want to invest in those realtors, but you want to invest in the relationship with the team leader. And then you want to do 1 training a quarter for that realtor and their team so that you have a frequency of interaction with those realtors without that individual investment. That's where you can get those hacks. Hey, you get to do something with CTAR or your local association of realtors, or are you a member of Real Producers where you can go to a networking event and have low investment frequency of interaction with more realtors. The top loan officers, guys that were doing more than 100 transactions last year, we saw a lot of one-off referrals from lower performing realtors that they were sort of in flow with without having to invest in individual personal time. And so when you're thinking about who should be in your My 25, you say, well, should this person be in there? Maybe they don't do 8 buy sides themselves. Maybe they only do 3 or 4. But if they have a bunch of friends or that they're realtors with, that when you go to their networking event, all those things are there. Or this realtor is really good at bringing other realtors together for their candle making class or the yoga thing they do. And going to those events enables you to frequently interact with other realtors. That's a hack. So now you want to start thinking about your database and who you invest in by how can you get low commitment, low investment interactions with more agents so you can pick up that bottom half of agents that are going to send you that 1 or maybe 2 deals a year, while also investing in the relationships that are going to lead to 3, 4, 5, and 6 referrals throughout the course of the year that are going to close. Almost done, guys. I'm going to turn it over for questions. So here's the path, guys. You want to close 5 loans a month? Have a face-to-face meeting with everyone in your My 25 each quarter. Have a reason to get together. Have something you want to share with them. Deliver value in those meetings. You don't have to ask for business. Everyone knows why you're there. Have something to share. Have something to teach. Have a favorite book that you just read. Have something you want to talk about, whatever else it is. Throw a class if you want to. Whatever you can do to hack that system, making sure you're having a face-to-face meeting with everybody in your My 25 each quarter. Have collisions with at least additional 25 referral partners each month. Right. And so what I mean by that is, how are you going to have, by the way, this is calling somebody to say congratulations on a closing that you saw online, interacting with them throughout their Facebook posts, calling them to invite them to something, whatever, having extra frequency of interaction with agents who are outside your My 25 each month. That's extra 75 agents a quarter. If you have 100 agents each quarter that you're in flow with, that's your 20 per loan. That's how you're going to get to that 5 number. That's the reverse math on that. I hope that makes sense. Send weekly value emails to your entire database of referral partners. By the way, I don't know if you heard about this, guys. There's something called ChatGPT now. You go in there, you're like, I want to email my realtor something about this. Can you write me a quick email that gets their attention? It looks cool and has some emojis in it. Awesome. Puts it out together, send it out to your database. It's awesome. Most people aren't doing it. Have personality in your frequency of emails if you guys are going to automate it. Meaning, like, take some risks, be yourself, be a little cheesy in the headline, grab people's attention. The more personality you have and the more feel like something that you wrote, the better it's going to do and the better your open rates are going to be. Corey's giving me the thumbs down, or emojis are going. I don't know what happened there. But we get about a 50% open rate most weeks on our realtor emails, meaning that 50% of the realtors we're sending an email to, we send emails to thousands of realtors across the country every week, are getting opened. Be creative in your emails, deliver value, have headlines that grab people's attention. And then engage with the referral partners in your database on social media every week. Your realtors are on social media. They're posting on social media. They are insecure about it. They are desperate for likes and approval. If you give them likes and approval and you comment on their stuff, they will like you. And then it'll be much easier for them to say yes to you when you go to have those face-to-face interactions because you're delivering value and you care about them. So thank you very much on that. And I will turn it over to you guys for questions.
Awesome, Mark. Thank you so much, guys. The chat is open. It's an anonymous chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in there.
I know that's a lot of information, guys. So please ask for clarification. And I know it's kind of a whole database strategy in 30 minutes. There's a lot that we gave you there. Do any of our Princeton people have questions?
Mark, here's one that came in. Are there any tricks you have found to speed up results? This seems like it's slow, and I'm really looking to grow in 2024.
I have. It's manufacturing collisions. That's really what it comes down to. So there is no shortcut for having the personal interactions and for reaching out. But yes, the answer is I think in order to master the workings of what we teach as the Princeton selling system here, it's 10 to 12 hours a week of important but non-urgent prospecting activity. If you doubled that, right? In other words, if you said instead of having 50 conversations each week, because we recommend 50 forward conversations, right? interactions with realtors or referral partners about family, occupation, recreation, or dreams. That's what Ford stands for. Those are 3 to 5 minute phone calls with 50 people a week. I've watched realtors I've worked with and coached individually up that to 100 and watch their business explode. Right. And so that the hack there is, okay, cool. Instead of spending 2 hours a day, I'm going to spend 4 hours a day on networking, on meeting people. By the way, join your church groups, join your local softball league, join the local bowling league, whatever you're half interested in, join all of the associations in your area that have to go with that and meet the people in them. Then, by the way, give yourself a clever email address like the best realtor in my area or something like that. I will tell you this. I use fantasy football as an amazing networking tool. Right? During the refi boom, I'm in 8 leagues. I did 40 loans for people I'm in leagues with. Every one of my team names is refi guy. It's not an accident, it's a strategy. If I'm pretty good at fantasy football, but if I never won again, I'm winning. Right? So where can you cheat? It's to be involved in a community of people where you're constantly having more interactions and you're being able to advertise yourself in clever ways or talk about what you do in clever ways, but get out there and be a part of things, right? And local in your community, you want to have a frequency of interaction. So if you're having 100 conversations a week with people in your community, your business is going to grow. Unless people really don't like you, and then you got to go find something else to do.
Awesome.
Was,
What about Mark? What advice do you have for someone who has a database, but they have never been strategic around it? What would you say would be the first step to starting to really organize and being purposeful with your database? What would you recommend in terms of like, where do you even start with this?
Yeah, so the question I usually ask people is, okay, if I were to call every realtor in your area and ask them for the number one loan officer that they'd recommend working with, how many people would say you? That you're really confident would say you? That's the first part of your My 25, right? So then you put those in there, cool, like, hey, these people know me, like me, trust me, they're going to refer me. That's the beginning of my My 25. Now I'm going to make the rest of my My 25 a wish list, which is going to be based on production, which is going to be based on what I've observed from this person, either in my interactions with them and social media that makes me think that maybe I'd be a good fit for that person. Because I've done this before too. Like there were realtors when I got to Charleston, I didn't know anybody. I'd see somebody on social media. I'm like, that girl's going to be my friend. She's going to refer me business. And I would go ahead and work on that relationship, 8 months, social media, different interactions figured out and get the referrals from that person. So target people that like you click with. I've also had realtors where I'm like, that's never going to be my flavor. And I move that person out. Right. And so now I want to backfill my 25 with people that are kind of on my wish list. Then I want to make sure I'm manufacturing collisions or conversations with realtors every week. And each one of those is going to be an interview to see if that person belongs in my 25, and I'm going to kick somebody else out and move them in. And so if you're in the beginning, what you want to do is have so many interactions that you're actually taking 1 or 2 people a week out of your My 25 and putting somebody else in there. So I met so many realtors this week. That guy, that's going to be my friend. The guy I played at softball with, that person going to refer me business. I'm excited about it. And so every week you want to look at your My 25 and see how it's evolving. So you're saying, okay, cool. These are the people that I really want to invest and have those meaningful relationships with. So I would start there and say, what is the quality of the people that my My 25 list? How many people on this list do I know would refer me? How many people do I wish would? And how can I continue to build up my relationships with those people?
Got it. What about one other question? And you mentioned earlier about the qualified realtors, that 8, and I think you referenced a qualified realtor is someone who has done 8 or more buy-side transactions. For someone who's really looking to grow their production this year from maybe you did 8 million last year or 10, 12 million, and you're trying to get to that 18 million number that you kind of gave in your that goal example. Do you think is it that 8 buy sides? Is that the number that of people that we should be prospecting to? Should we lower it? What would be your recommendation as you're kind of building that prospecting list? Okay, I need to be in flow with 100 people. Like, should it just be those 8 or more buy side transactions, or how would you think about kind of the production data for the realtors?
You know, when I think about even the people, so because I consider collisions to be low investment. Okay, what I mean by that is my initial interaction with somebody. I bump into somebody in an open house, I meet them at a networking event. I call them, random cold call, and see introduce myself and see how their business is going. That takes 3 to 5 minutes to have that collision. In that time, I'm going to make an assessment. Either this is somebody that I believe I should spend my time with. Now, by the way, they've been a realtor for 10 years and they did one buy side last year. There's almost nothing they're going to be able to say to me on the phone that's going to keep me interested. Maybe there is, maybe, but I haven't heard it yet. Right. But if somebody is in their second year, they did 4 buy sides last year and they got 2 deals under contract right now, and you like that person, we're going to invest in that person. If someone did 4 buy sides last year and they've been doing it for a year, but they're part of a team of other realtors that you already know are on your list that you want to get in with, I'll invest with that person. I'll take somebody who's brand new. But if they just join a team or a brokerage where there's other realtors there that I know I want to get in with, and I like this person, in other words, that we have something in common, we get along, I'll invest in that person all day as an access point to get me into that brokerage, right? So the question is having a relationship with this person going to lead to opportunity with them or to other agents? Is it going to be a point of access? And I understand this can seem like it's transactional or very like dollars and cents, but the reality is we can make a lot of money. We only have so much time, right? And so I think about who I want to invest in. If I really like somebody and I think that's going to be able to lead me to getting a business from them or other people, that's really what I'm looking for, clues in that area. And so, by the way, being connected with people on social media, seeing knowing that each brokerage, who's in it, where they go to, who the players are in your market, who are the team leaders, who are the social directors of some of these groups of realtors. You'll see sometimes the social director is not the best agent, right? But if you can get with the social director, that's a way to meet those other agents. It's the strategy of that stuff that I think can make a difference. And so I wish there was a magic wand where I'd say, like, yes, this person statistically is the right realtor. No, it's not. I'll talk to anybody with a real estate license who's excited to talk to me for 5 minutes. From there, I'm making my assessment. Hey, is this somebody that I click with? And do I think that there's some other advantage to me developing a relationship with this person that's worth me investing my time in with them? And by the way, every person gets to go in my automated flow list. Everybody gets my 13 by 30, my cookie. So like, there's a good chance, even if I don't want to invest anytime with this person ever again, at some point 2 years from now, they email me and go, hey, me and my daughter are looking for a new loan officer. Like that will happen, right? And so that's why as many collisions as you get, it's still advantageous. As long as you have a flow system to stay in touch. If you meet somebody and 2 years go by, they don't hear from you, they're never calling you. They're going to go with whatever other loan officer they just saw last. So you have to have those flow systems in place to make the collisions worth it.
Hey, Mark, quick question. So we get to cheat here at Princeton because we got the 13 by 30s, and I think you talked a little bit about that. But most people on this call don't have, let's assume that they don't have something like that. What would be the easiest way, quick, easy, inexpensive, to get into those touches over the first 30 days that are so crucial, that are relatively automated, right? That don't consume, hours a day?
Yeah, so the first thing that I would do with this is I would make sure I have emails for everybody. And by the way, see if you can find personal emails, if not their work emails, go on LinkedIn, send them emails to all their email addresses. Or if you can find multiple email addresses for somebody, do that, send it to everybody, put an email address together in, and then I would just put together some sort of weekly newsletter. By the way, when you're getting started, it could just be like fun events that are happening in your area this weekend. And it can just be like the different things that are going on in different parts of town and send it out on Friday. Anything that's of value. It could be your favorite recipe, a book that you just read, a story that you want to tell about an agent that you heard about, or about a deal that you went and got through. Anything that shows your personality, that keeps you in someone's inbox. And then, by the way, the ultimate hack is the non-automated flow. So yes, we want to have automated flow. But again, if you're trying to get started in the beginning, like, cool, I'm going to call 100 agents every single week. Well, and you don't really have to have a lot of automated flow if you're willing to commit yourself to making 100 phone calls every week, right? Like that's the cheat. The cheat is doing the extra work. And so, yes, I would do social media. And by the way, here's the coolest thing about the social media stuff. When you first connect with somebody on social media, the algorithm is going to put you at the top of their feed. So if every weekend you're going out and connecting with new people, and then every Monday you're coming out with a new post from that weekend, you're going to be popping up at the top of their feed. They're going to see you there, and they're going to investigate your profile a different way. They'll remember you differently. And so how can you stay in their consciousness? Because here's what we know, right? Every realtor has a favorite loan officer that they like to refer, right? Or maybe they give out their list of 3, but I think most agents refer somebody, okay? On the day that they don't get that person on the phone, or that loan officer's on vacation, or the loan officer lets them down, they don't call their second favorite loan officer. They call whatever loan officer they saw last. right? Every loan officer's had the situation where they go to the grocery store. There's been a realtor they wanted to get business from for 3 years. They bump into him at the grocery store in the checkout line, and the next day that realtor sends them a referral. And you're like, oh my God, I wish I could bump into all my realtors at the grocery store, but you can't, right? And that's why the social media posts and the emails that go out every week, that is your grocery store collision. That is where you happen to just magically show up in their inbox on the day they're ready to refer somebody new. Said it's not magic. You've just been there every weekend waiting for that moment for 2 years, and this was the moment. And so that's where the strategy of your flow system, building of that process, ends up being the difference. I hope that answered your question.
Yep. And then one last, there's a lot of chat around, depending on what generation we're talking about, but there's a lot of chat about, hey, what social platform should I be using? Is the answer all of them? Or is there one, is Facebook still the go-to one?
So I think it really depends on who your target agents are in your own demographic and what you're comfortable using. What I would say to you is I still think Instagram and Facebook are the place to be for local interactions, right? Like, so in other words, Facebook groups, your local Facebook real estate page, like in your town, in your area, the town's next to you, being in those groups and active in them so that you're popping up. In other words, so you join the local real estate forum. If you post in there, even the realtors you're not friends with, they're going to see your posts. You're going to get more exposure, you're going to get more connection, right? So I think those are the areas where when you're locally focused, those are still the platforms that I think make the most amount of sense. But here's the thing, most of the loan officers that we have here don't actually post a lot. They post here or there, they'll post something like that, but where the real value comes in is interacting with the posts of those agents, right? Is that agent, I tell real estate agents all the time when I'm teaching them social media, nobody follows you to see the house. You need to be in the picture of the house. You need to be in the video talking about the house. I can look at houses on Zillow. I follow you because I want to see you, right? It's the same thing for our loan officers. So if you're going to post, be in the stuff. But also if you're going to interact with those agents, right? You want to be encouraging the ones that are going out there and doing the work, building those connections and making sure you're interacting there. It's just another way for you to be in flow with them. So again, you're never going to convince them to dump a loan officer they're in love with. You just want to be there on the day that loan officer screws up, right? And by the way, that happens all the time. You've been the loan officer that screwed up, right? If you've been doing this long enough, and you're going to be there when somebody else makes the mistake. And so it's how do you build systems or habits? Really, it's how do you build the habits as a loan officer to continue to make sure that you're doing the activities where you're going to be there on the day it breaks. And then, and like I said, the hack for that is just, pick up the phone and keep calling everybody. You'll find some people that are having that bad day or that bad loan officer experience right now if you go out there and have enough calls.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mark. Hey, everyone, we really appreciate you all joining us today. Over the next couple of days, you'll get an email from us that'll have the recording of this conversation. So you can definitely go back and reference it if you have any questions. And I love Mark's kind of closing there is talking about, hey, how do we as loan officers build those habits that are going to help us reach our goals? So next week, we'd love to have you join us as we talk about what we call to-do lists are evil. And really kind of the topic that we'll be diving into is how do we take that plan that we have, those habits that we know that we should do, that we think are going to help us achieve the goals we want, how do we turn that into action? How do we schedule that out throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month so that we're able to achieve the goals that we so desire. So thank you everyone for joining us this week, and we can't wait to see you back next week for our final Propel series next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Have a great week, everyone.